ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Kart drivers are the most versatile in the world, racing on super speedway, short ovals, road courses, and today they battle on the beautiful street course of Long Beach. It's a California happening. Normally the speed limit at 30 miles an hour. Today it's unlimited as ABC Sports proudly presents the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. The cars have already rolled. Here is the Kawasaki starting grid on the pole. Helio Castroneves, Kenny Brack alongside the second row. Tony Kanaan, Cristiano D'Amato, row 3. Gil de Ferran and Dario Franchitti, the fourth row. Michel Jourdain Jr., we're going to go on down through the remainder of the grid. Cars are already rolling. Fans are ready for the start of this race. They're hanging off the balconies. They're ready to watch this thing from anywhere they can. We do have a report that as he rolled out, Jimmy Vasser, and there he is, was smoking. Smoke still showing at the back of the car, Parker.
What a major disappointment for Jimmy Vasser. I spoke to him just before the start. He thought he had a very good chance to win today's race. We'll see how that develops.
82 laps of the run here, and the key is the fuel range and how you play your pit stops. The circuit is just under 2 miles around.
And lined with concrete, the drivers have to be absolutely consistent as they're pushing the limit all day long.
Let's go down to Gary Gerould.
A little concern for Cristiano D'Amato. Remember that storybook start to his driving career with Newman Haas last month in Mexico when he won? Today he starts outside row 2, but they had a suspension problem in the rear of the car that they chased after the morning warm-up. He's got his fingers crossed, as does the crew, that everything is now perfect and ready to go. Let's go to Jan Beekes.
Well, Gary, Paul Tracy, the defending champion of this race, he came from 17th to win last year. He starts 12th today, but he only used one set of his new tires that he can use in qualifying. They put the other new set on the car now. He thinks there'll be a big advantage during the opening laps. Scott? And if you know Long Beach, you know turn 1. This is where the action is. All day long, we're going to be catching it. Guys out breaking guys, guys trying to out deep guys, guys coming out of the pits in front of other cars. We're going to catch it all today.
So Scott Pruitt will be watching from the outside of turn 1. And by the way, Scott Pruitt was the winner of yesterday's Toyota Pro Celebrity Race. Here's some of our onboard cameras for you. Mauricio Guzman, one of the top qualified Reynards. Tora Takagi, as he sits back a little further in the field. We're watching Jimmy Vasser. There's Tora. Vasser's still smoking. Hasn't cleared up yet. And that's a rear view from Nicholas Manassian. And Max Pappas, nice head-on view for you. The race today run under those beautiful blue skies. Yesterday it rained. The qualifying was fascinating. 5 different times in the last 2 minutes of qualifying, the pole position changed. So now they're on Seaside, down on the back side of the race course, and they will form up and then head through the final turn and on their way to that very famous hairpin that has been so critical to so many races here. Air temperatures chilly, the winds are fairly brisk, as Helio Castroneves on the pole for the 5th time of his career will bring the field down toward the green flag. On Shoreline Drive, the front stretch. Green flag awaits. Green flag comes out. Drag race as Castroneves goes alongside Kenny Brack. Brack seems to push ahead, Scott.
We have them side by side. Breck Destiny had Helio's back up inside. Side by side, real tight down through here. But they make it through here. So far, so good. Nice and clean.
Helio Castroneves grabs the lead away from Kenny Brack. Brack had a nose ahead of him going into one. Here comes the rest of the field on through. Helio Castroneves, followed by Kenny Brack. And then Cristiano D'Amato and Tony Kanaan. Clean start, everybody through the first couple of turns, no problem whatsoever. Again, we give you a look down through the remainder of the field. Seems that smoke may have gone away on Vasser's car. Move there. That is Michel Jourdain Jr. He was the provisional pole until the last 2 minutes of the qualifying. He's having a great weekend. Dario Franchitti just behind him. Gil DeFerrin ahead. DeFerrin is chasing Tony Kanaan. There comes Tracy. Alex Tagliani. Oh, a flat left rear. Looking for other damage. You see any, Parker?
Nope, I sure don't. We'll see if he takes the back door into the pits.
They can cut the hairpin if they have a mechanical problem and go into the pits directly without coming through the hairpin. There comes the very likable Helio Castroneves, and now Kenny Brack under attack from Cristiano D'Amata. Besides the fact that they can't test here, other than the testing that's provided on Friday before the race, the real problem, too, is the fact that the walls are right on the edge of the racetrack. You cannot afford any mistake whatsoever. Jimmy Vasser, remember, had the smoking problem. Gary Gerould, can you update that?
Just checked in with the Patrick crew. They tell us that they were told to put an extra quart of oil in that machine. They say apparently that extra oil resulted in the smoke. They say there is no problem for JV.
So good news for Jimmy Vasser as the field heads for turn 1 and Scott Pruitt again.
As we see coming by here, Helio Castroneves running real good. Back onto the track. Players' cars coming through side by side. A little bit of bumping, and they're on their way.
Last time around, there was an indication that Michael Andretti's engine sounded a little funny. Now, Michael, of course, is in new livery. You're going to look for a blue car to find Michael Andretti. You ride with Max Pappas, who's moving his way up. You're going to see a blue car right there. That is now Christian Fittipaldi's new blue light special. There goes Christian. So a couple new cars, at least new paint jobs for this race. Remember last year, Christian Fittipaldi at this track was running a pretty good race, and then both he and his teammate at the time, Michael Andretti, had fires in the pits. Jan Beekes, what's the story on Alex Tagliani?
Well, he's been here. He's got a new rear tire, but when we looked at the tire, it was because of contact with another car on those opening laps. Obviously, he lost a lot of ground. They got him back out there. Not the way you want to start your Long Beach Grand Prix.
Yeah, but the question, Jan, is there any idea who that car might be? Might it have a similar problem?
Well, they thought it was a front wing, and it would be car number 55. So if it was just winged the tire, that car might be okay. The tire is vulnerable.
And Michael Andretti is in the pits, unexpected early. Obviously, something's wrong as they start to pull the cowling off of the car.
And we could watch him slide backwards going down that long pit straightaway. He was subject to numerous overtaking maneuvers by other drivers. The Motorola team going to work at the rear engine, Cal.
So Michael Andretti, obviously with a serious problem. He won his very first kart race ever here in 1986. Gil DeFerrin, the pole sitter last year, led most of the race, and of course the defending kart FedEx champion. Right behind the 55 car, Tony Kanaan. That's the car, as Jan Beekes suggested, that may have an issue after some contact with Alex Tagliani. Looking at the car, I don't see anything obvious.
No, he did drop one position there right at the start, swapping with Cristiano D'Amata. But Tony was one of the quickest cars all weekend long, got caught out in qualifying yesterday. And remember, it wasn't too long ago that he was leading this race, had a crash back on the back section of the course going into turn 6, where Cristiano D'Amata suffered a similar fate not too many laps after. So it looks like they're a little more settled down today, trying to let this play out. We've been told that about 10, 15 laps into this run, the rear tires start to go off a little bit, so the drivers are going to be a little bit conservative and see how their chassis are responding to these ever-changing track conditions.
Keeping an eye on fourth place Tony Kanaan, who loves this circuit and does very well on it. And Michael Andretti has now climbed out of the race car. Just that quickly, it appears that Michael Andretti's day is done. on the circuit. Castroneves hasn't pulled out all that far. Normally, when he gets this kind of position, he runs away. But look there at Kenny Brack and D'Amata right behind him. Very tight interval. Jan Beekes.
Well, with Michael Andretti. Michael, what happened?
I don't know for sure. I think it was something electrical.
Any warning at all, or just complete killing the engine? Or
Coming on the main straightaway here, it just went.
As a guy who's been preparing all weekend, I know this is one of your favorite tracks. How do you deal with that?
I'm really disappointed because I think we had a really good car today, and qualifying we didn't get to show it. I think it was a top 5 qualifying car, and I think it was a car capable of winning, so I'm just really disappointed.
All right, hope you have better luck at Texas. Thanks.
Thanks.
Castroneves, Brack, Cristiano D'Amata, Tony Kanaan, all right together. Gilles de Ferran's been climbing up on the back of Kanaan whenever he can. As you ride with Max Pappas, and we show you the top of the field, Honda, Ford, Toyota, evenly distributed in the top 3. Pre-race ceremonies included all kinds of stuff, including the parachutists coming in. It's a great time here.
The Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach on ABC Sports, brought to you by Toyota. More choices, better selection. Experience Toyota today. And FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series.
Paul Page with Parker Johnstone, Scott Pruitt, Gary Gerould, and Jan Beekes. Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach as they continue the run. Nothing has changed since we've left you. They have 8 laps complete, working on the 9th lap now. Helio Castroneves, the pole sitter, has led right from the start. Second qualifier, Kenny Brack has been right there. The battle that seems to be developing is Gilles de Ferran as he tries to contest the 4th place Tony Kanaan in the 55 car. There's Helio Castroneves. Alex Tagliani had his problems early on, and then when he came out, he had yet another problem.
This is with Scott Dixon coming down into the first corner. You can see Scott moves Alex to the outside. Alex flips the cones. Doesn't take much to slice these very thin racing tires.
And Alex Tagliani, those cones, by the way, are bolted to the ground, so he really sheared them off. One of the things here, too, as we see Castroneves come off of that hairpin and onto Shoreline Drive, is the changing surface here from concrete to asphalt and back.
Plus, they have sealer in a lot of these spots so that there's a great lack of consistencies for the drivers in terms of grip under braking, cornering, and acceleration. It's very, very difficult for the drivers to get a handle on exactly what the track's doing in any particular corner.
Keeping track of this entire open wheel weekend on ABC Sports, Derek Walker, who has cars on both sides of the fence. Gary Gerould, he's got to be happy.
Well, I'm sure he's elated. Derek, your reaction to what Sarah Fisher was able to accomplish with that second-place drive on the other side of the country at Homestead.
Well, I mean, I've been listening to on the mobile phone, getting results here, and I'm really pleased for her and all the guys. It's really a good result, so sounds like a good one.
How's Tora Takaki going for you here? He's busy right now. Obviously a yellow situation, Paul.
Yeah, Gary, they've just gone to a full course caution because of Luis Garcia Jr. You saw him run off course there, and we will hopefully be able to talk with Sarah Fisher just a little bit later. And so what happened to the 21 car to put it here? Let's see if we can figure it out.
Well, you can see coming down into turn 8, comes in a little too hot, gets the rears locked, and stands on the front and slides nose into the tire barrier.
Is that the surface difference thing that we were talking about there?
No, he started to lose control. Actually, TV flattens it out, but there's a great rise that they have to leap over on the way down into turn 8, and the back end started to get away from him until he locked up the front.
A lot of guys head for the pits. This is on the 11th lap of the race, and here is where the tactics and the whole strategy of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach begins to play. How much fuel? What are you going to do with it? Get your position. Use the pit stop to help you get there. Gary Gerould.
Well, we were talking with Derek Walker. When that yellow came out, a whole different world. Here's Takaki leaving on a pit stop. Oh, look at the congestion as he exits. Oh, so close. So many teams from the back of the pack gambling to get better track position. Traffic jam on the streets of Long Beach in the pit.
Leave the pits with Mauricio Guzman. We'll try and sort her out, figure out who stayed out, who went in, and what game they're going to play now as they continue the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. We'll be back.
This Wide World of Sports update brought to you by Mobile One. Nothing outperforms Mobile One.
This mobile update comes during yellow here on the streets of Long Beach in the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. So we're going to take advantage of the opportunity. We were talking with Derek Walker about what happened with his other driver, Sarah Fisher, today on the other side of the country. And Vince Welch, our colleague from ABC Sports, is standing by with her. Vince?
Sarah Fisher, second place today. What a terrific performance. You just said they hugged you harder than the race car treated you today.
Yeah, I jumped out, and all my guys, each one of them took a turn, even Billy from Comtech. Comtech did a great job today, but I tell you what, this team has done a wonderful job since Kroger signed on and Meads continued. And today is Derek Walker's birthday, so happy birthday, Derek Walker.
The team owner certainly very happy today. Did you ever feel like you had something for Sam down the stretch?
A little bit, yeah, but, you know, Sam's been running strong all year long. He's been running strong all race long, and, you know, the car just got on rails at the end of the race, and Mike and I, he's my new engineer, we did a really good job together this weekend, and it really showed today.
What's it prove today about Sarah Fisher?
Oh, we're ready. We're coming.
Sarah Fisher, second place.
At Long Beach, California, Alex Zanardi comes in. Remember, he has played the tactics here. He's the car on the left of your screen so very well on to 2 victories here. The cars that pitted during this yellow full course caution segment includes that car there, Bruno Junqueira. But they came in at the end of the yellow. Almost everybody else came in at the start. We expect to go racing here shortly.
Well, the strategy is if you have 2 cars, one towards the front of the field, the other towards the back, you're going to split the strategy, and you're going to do that quickly to play out whatever course of yellows you might have.
Yes, back on again.
We're listening to Cristiano D'Amata. Christian, they've been worried about there's a faltering in the engine, and we're listening to the radio conversation as they try to get it fixed.
You want to go to slot 2.
And that sounded just like typical pre-green briefing for the driver to make sure he's on the proper fuel setting before they go green. They're trying to conserve as much fuel here while scrubbing their tires, getting the brakes back up to temperature. And as they enter that final corner, they'll go back to full power, full enrichment, full boost settings. And here they go.
Christian Fittipaldi, keep track of him on the restart. He's the one with that problem. Green flag comes out. Helio Castroneves accelerates away, looking up to the hairpin. Make sure everybody gets through. Let's go to Scott Pruitt down in turn 1.
Everything so far so good. We've seen a lot of heat right now. Jourdain taking a good look inside the fair, and he blocks Paul Tracy. Another good move. He didn't get to see it, but he's side-by-side. Christian makes his way by on the inside.
Paul Tracy is working his way forward. He started 12th, and now he tucks in, trying to get his way up through the field. Dario Franchitti is sitting up 7th place right now, behind Michel Jourdain Jr., and Jourdain Jr. is looking great this weekend. There comes Paul Tracy. Tracy last year started 17th, won the race. Won his first kart race here, 1993. Like many of the drivers, he doesn't leave the track all that much and stayed overnight back in the paddock area. Up bright and early, plenty of opportunity to get your mind right for the race. Whoa, DePerrin gets it a little sideways coming off of the hairpin.
What's amazing about this series, Paul, as we watch the cars run through, is you look at Castroneves, Breck, D'Amata, and Kanaan, you essentially have 3 different chassis. The players' teammates harassing each other.
Yeah, but let's not forget that Tagliani is a lap down, what with the flattened tire that he had early on. And when you think about it, in the front there, the white and blue car, the other 2 are more blue and white. That's all 3 of Jerry Forsythe's cars running right together. Gontier lets him pass. Now Tagliani will look at Brian Herta. Herta's pulling away quite a bit. All it takes is the slightest mistake in that hairpin, and it becomes a parking lot. Look at this, as Gil DeFerrin charges down the inside of Tony Kanaan, and DeFerrin moves to fourth. Now Castroneves, Breck, D'Amata, and DeFerrin. Obviously, the front of the field stayed out during that first yellow. I was surprised to see that Penske kept both of his cars out and didn't play the split strategy. Let's go to Gary.
Quick update on Christian Fittipaldi. The drama continues. Apparently, there is something wrong and dramatically wrong for Fittipaldi. He was commanded again on the radio to cycle the ECU. A call just went out. They wanted a spare steering wheel. We don't know for sure they're going to bring him in, but they're trying to track a problem. We're told by Toyota telemetry that there's nothing that's showing up indicating a motor problem at this point. So we'll continue to wait and see how things go for Christian.
The ECU is the electronic control unit. It's what controls the software management system of the engine. So many of the controls now are placed on the driver's steering wheel that if they're trying to debug it quickly, one of the components that you replace is that very expensive, very intricate steering wheel. So if they have a misfire, and obviously everything internally on the engine looks okay.
Oh, look at this. Fight for second. Scott Pruitt.
Hard battle for second. We're selling a lot of action. Cristiano right up on top, making a move, trying to make it to the inside, side by side.
Now they move over to the tight part of the course. Very little opportunity to pass here. Next real opportunity is as they come on the right-hander off of Seaside. But Cristiano's still going to take a look.
Remember, at our last race at Monterey, these two shared the front row. Cristiano went on to win. Breck with a great race. And as I was going to say earlier, Paul, what amazes me is the parity in this series. These guys are so diverse, having these many different disciplines, but here we've got a Honda Renard Penske leading it. Second place, we've got Kenny Breck and a Lola Ford. We've got Cristiano D'Amata and a Lola Toyota. Phenomenal that they all can run this hard and this close.
Whoa! Kenny Breck almost gets it too far wide. Will Cristiano be able to take advantage of that as they come off the corner? It may not show up until the far end of the straightaway. As Cristiano tries to work Breck is able to pull away. They head towards Scott Pruitt.
He seems like he's stretched out a little bit more. A lot of action going on, not just with the first top three, but top four, top five. Everybody trying to make the move down here in turn one, getting wild.
Jourdain Jr. tried to pop out and get around Tony Kanaan. He couldn't do it. Take it back and take a look at Kenny Breck.
Coming into turn 10, you can see the dark black sealer. It's very slick. Quick opposite lock, a downshift. He throws the steering back to the right and still gets the car gathered up for a perfect exit, which kept Cristiano D'Amata from attacking at the end of the back straightaway.
That was a nifty piece of driving by Kenny Breck. Jan Beekes.
It was, and I asked Scott Remke, the team manager, is he experiencing any handling difficulties? They said no. They think that the rear tires are going off a little bit, so he's going to have to maybe do a bit of that kind of Swedish driving there, but they are hoping certainly that he's going to be able to maintain that spot.
Oh, it is sweet. It is. Oh, that was horrible.
Much tighter that time coming through the 10-11 complex. And he's missing a significant aerodynamic component on the back of that
Max
car.
Wilson, he must have had a quick spin. Took off the rear wing.
Get a rear wing, change the tires, fuel the car.
Yeah, there's the part that he needs. So how did Max Wilson, who's been driving very well in these first two races, what happened to him? Oh, backed it in.
Backed it into the tires. Unfortunate. This RCR Brooks team has been very quick. In fact, Max Wilson has been one of the quickest drivers through a lot of the speed traps, but only 23rd quickest going down the straightaways. So you got the rear brakes locked up on turn-in, quick half spin, loses the rear wing backing into the tires.
Yeah, that team is going places. They've really put together a nice organization. He's in the pits. They're running for the wing now. Now they tell him to shut it off. So Max Wilson with higher hopes. Had a great Friday. In fact, was sitting ninth in the overall practice times at the end of the sessions on Friday. Helio Castroneves is out in front. Kenny Breck is still second. Cristiano D'Amata trying to work on him with Gil DeFerrin sitting in 4th place. Behind DeFerrin, it's Kanaan, Jourdain, Franchitti, Vassar, Tracy, and Pappas. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC station. First race of the CART FedEx Championship Series was Monterrey, Mexico. Cristiano Damata, in his first drive for Newman Haas Racing, took the victory, the second of his career. He sits now in 3rd place. His teammate, Christian Fittipaldi, has dropped back now to 15th. He continues to have electrical problems.
2 big changes for Newman Haas Racing over the winter. First of all, the change to Toyota power, and this driver, Cristiano Damata, wins the first race of the season. Christian Fittipaldi, his teammate, well, of course, he won the season finale at Fontana. Newman Haas Racing with a lot of momentum coming into Long Beach.
Gil DeFerrin trying to work on Damata. We'll look back and we'll show you Christian Fittipaldi, and they just went through that bright blue car. There he comes. Christian, that's a new color as they bring out the blue light special once again. Love to listen to them accelerate off of that hairpin and rocket up to above 190 miles an hour down the straightaway. Back to the top 3. Castroneves, Freck, black number 6. That's Cristiano Damata. See Gil DeFerrin with the number 1 Penske car getting into the fight as well now. And then Jourdain and Kanaan, just behind that, have been working on one another pretty hard. Jourdain's backed off for the moment.
And 2 laps ago, Kenny Breck was right up behind Elio Castroneves in that Shell Team Rahal car, but now he's backed up just a little bit. Cristiano Damata holding station. Gil DeFerrin's the one that's coming forward, so I'm wondering if Kenny started to push. We've been told by all the teams about 15 laps into it, the rear tires start to fall off, and they've got to nurse those tires, especially coming onto the pit straightaway, where they're going from 6,000 up to 16,000 RPM. It's very easy to spin those rear tires with 900 horsepower.
Kenny Breck heads for turn 1 right behind the leader. Scott?
One of the things that they made a change from last year was the Reynard to the Lola chassis. They are having a problem getting the traction that they want out of the cars. That has been a common complaint in testing, and it looks like it could play out here today as well.
We're going to go on board with his teammate, Max Pappas. Now, Max is sitting back in 10th place right now. 10th isn't all that far back. It's just 8-10 seconds behind the leader right now. Less than that.
Riding on board with Max, you can see how bumpy this track is, how physical it is. Watch his hands, watch his head. The drivers come away from these 82 laps bruised for several days.
Across the start-finish line for Max Pappas. Continues in 10th place, Gary Gerald.
Well, Scott was talking about how some of the Lola teams have been having that problem trying to get rear grip. That seems to be the case for Cristiano Damata driving for the Newman Haas team. He was complaining about it. They figure they're going to make some adjustments on his first pit stop that's not too far off in the distance here, and they'll see if they can try to correct that situation so that he can better challenge. Damata currently in the 3rd position, still chasing Kenny Breck.
You know, that is interesting, and it shows the difference between a qualifying setup and a race setup to some degree, because the Lolas in qualifying were pretty powerful, really interrupted only by the 2 Penske altered Reynards.
Well, and unless the driver's leading, he'll always complain. It's hard to say that the Lolas are having a problem when they won the first race of the year. They're currently in 2nd and 3rd place. And as I said, with the rear tires slowly going off, every one of these cars is going to be experiencing a traction problem. Maybe the Lola's a little more so than the Reynards, but then again, look at Kenny Breck, look at Cristiano Damata holding station, sandwiched by the 2 Penskes. I don't think they have too big of a problem right now.
We look down from high overhead. Today's aerial shots of the track being brought to you by the Monster.com's Blimp Skeeter. There's Skeeter, Monster.com, for work, life, possibilities.
And as you said, Paul, these Penske Reynards are highly modified. They've estimated that a good 80% plus have nothing to do with the original Renard design. And as you look at these cars, every once in a while from the sides, you'll see that the rear flugels, the side pods are very different than any other car in this race.
Helio Castroneves, the 3 car, still the leader, led from the green flag. Now, Roger used to build his own cars, but when he decided to go over to the Reynard chassis, he still kept the facility in Poole, England, where he built all the cars, open and operating, kept everybody working, and mostly what they're doing now is modifying and building parts for the Renard, so much so that it's barely a Reynard anymore. Scott Pruitt?
Yeah, you have to remember, I had a chance to talk to some of those guys this weekend. Basically, the only thing that's stock is the tub itself, the side pods, the wings. Everything that you see on that car is manufactured by Penske in England. So it is a Reynard, but not by much.
While the expression is accurate, I find it interesting to refer to a thoroughbred race car as stock versus another form. Stock demodified.
All during winter testing, Penske's were the class of the field wherever they went. Laguna Seca, Sebring, to Phoenix, Arizona. Everyone was within a tenth or two except for the Penske's. They were noticeably quicker than anyone else. And today we're starting to see the fruit of that hard work. I think we're going to see pit stops here, call it another 5 to 6 laps, according to my calculations.
Alex Zanardi has already turned into the pits. One would think that that's a little bit early, as Parker says, expecting the stops to come more about 5, 6 laps from now, at least getting them into the 30-lap range. We're on 26. Scheduled distance is 82 laps. It's Honda, Ford, Toyota. Top 3. We'll be back. We're back at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Alex Zanardi back into the pits again. Next weekend, ABC Sports presents the first major of the Senior PGA Tour season. Last year, Tom Kite captured the victory after 6 sudden death playoff holes. Now he'll defend against Jack Nicklaus, Hale Irwin, and more. The countrywide tradition coverage begins Saturday. Tora Takagi got together with Mauricio Gugelmin, and it has put Tora dead stopped on the course in a position that he's got the power. I was thinking that they might end up with a full course caution, and in fact they do. And it's perfect on time for the stops.
Coming down the back straightaway, Mauricio looking down the inside of Tora Takagi. And he says, no, I'm taking the apex, and just basic physics here. You can't have 2 objects occupying the same space at the same time. Tora boots it to try to keep the engine running and get it spun around.
Fortunately, he did not catch the wall, but they did bring out the full course caution. Jan Beekes.
Yes, and that means that our leader here is on pit road. Castroneves, the west of the car, streaming down pit road. They went waiting for the fuel. We're also watching for Kenny Brack. Let's go to Gary.
Cristiano D'Amata is in the last pit. He's in, getting service. Here's the car, Takagi rolling by, waiting down off the jacks is D'Amata. Here comes Castroneves, and right behind him goes Cristiano D'Amata. Kenny Brack had a stall.
Now they've got Kenny Brack refired and on the way. And Kenny Brack finally gets rolling. So these stops come under full course caution. Oh, this is Bruno Junqueira. Left rear is not just flat, it's gone. Flat gone. I knew you'd react to that. I knew you'd react to that. And it looked to me, Scott Pruitt, maybe you can confirm it, like Helio Castroneves did beat D'Amata out of the pits on those stops. And
he certainly did. He came out ahead pretty much the same way they came in. The interesting thing is while we were away, a lot of action happened, and when they came in for the stop, the top group of guys, the top 13 or 14, were able to make it out before that group that we saw pit earlier. That was going to be a concern, but they had quick enough stops where they're in and out and on their way.
So the field lining up behind the pace car now, and we can go back to the incident that brought out this yellow. This is Gugelmin.
Coming down into turn 9, 170 miles an hour. You can see left front to right rear contact. Mauricio says, well, I got that pass done.
And from the other car, Torres Takagi.
Remember, it's blind down the inside here. He turns in for the apex, not knowing whether Mauricio's there or not. I think he knew he was there because he gave him about a half a car width. And you never want to leave that big of an opening for any one of these drivers.
And that did push Gugelmin up onto the curb on the inside, but he kept the car under control. Takagi was the one that got it loose. Gugelmin hopped on the brakes and then just squirted away. Now, once again, we've got a problem with Christian Fittipaldi. This time, he's having speed trouble on the race course, but in the pits, he had a speed limit violation. Gary Gerould.
Well, now that he has this penalty and will have to come through the pits, they're going to stop him, and I think they're going to try to replace the cable to the ECU unit. Now he's lost the track position. They were telling him to go, 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 because they knew that under yellow he might be able to gain a lot of spots since he'd made that pit stop just before the yellow came out and all the leaders came in. So the woes are being compounded for Fittipaldi. We expect him in the pits momentarily.
Long Beach can become so frustrating so quickly. Roberto Moreno's trying to get out, but Kenny Brack is back in. Jan Beekes.
Yes, when he left after stalling the car, they feel they might have some sort of driveline problem. It sounded to me like it was a clutch. It sounded like it was slipping. They're spinning the rear wheels trying to see if it's a half-shaft CV, something along in those lines. But Kenny Brack, boy, after such a strong run in the first segment, he's going to be trying to make up a lot of ground now.
Christian Fittipaldi out of his car. His day apparently is done. You saw Roberto Moreno trying to get out of the pits. The Patrick Racing team stopped him early on lap 10, stopped him again during this full course caution. And remember, that team always gambles. They always have some little cool strategy going. So we'll keep an eye on Roberto Moreno for you. We expect the green flag this time around. Seaside Way under the Long Beach Convention Center. When this race began 27 years ago, very little of this was here. The city is growing with the race, and now, as we suggested, it's a major Southern California happening. Christian Fittipaldi, they put him back in the car. So premature to suggest his day was done.
We could see Castroneves trying to get a jump on D'Amata coming off that back straightaway. These cars are very different now than they were just a few laps ago on fresh tires and full tanks.
Kenny Brack climbs out of the car. Green flag comes out on the start-finish line. It's Castroneves, D'Amata, Jimmy Vasser, and DeFerrin. Field goes to Scott Pruitt.
Everything looks clean down into here. Won by single file. No changes. Not much action. Just sliding through on their way.
Mentioned the Patrick Racing team and how they will play the game. Jimmy Vasser, the second Patrick driver, up there in third place. Scott Dixon had a quick runoff of the circuit. Jimmy Vasser, as we mentioned in that last round of stop, went in 8th place, came out in 3rd. The team did it for him.
Jimmy Vasser, the 96 Series champion, has had success in the past here at Long Beach. You may notice as we watch that car, there's no sponsorship on the side for that Pat Patrick Racing car. That is going to be a temporary situation, I'm sure. This driver is too talented. The Pat Patrick Racing team, one of the best. What a great opportunity for someone. I spoke to Jimmy Vasser after this morning's warm-up. He said he is charged up to show that he can win this race again and have a legitimate shot at the championship.
So how did they do on that round of stops? We already mentioned how Jimmy improved. And there's the rest. Castroneves, Penske keeping him right there. Brack, of course, that's a problem, and now he's out of the run, Jan.
Yes, and of course, it wasn't what Kenny Brack was hoping for. Was it when you left the pits that you had the driveline problem?
Yeah, I left the pits and nothing happened. It was just like leaving without, it was just a little bit of a resistance. That was it. So that's why I tried to clutch it and get back on throttle. I installed it, but it was gone before then. There was something wrong with it. I don't know.
You had to be feeling good, though. You had a great run going there.
Yeah, I think we're just sitting there, you know, trying to save fuel and everything, but yes, we'll have to try again.
All right, well, I know you like Texas, so we'll see you there.
Thank you.
And next race, Kenny Brack's got a lot of good experience with running at Texas Motor Speedway. That'll come up in 2 weeks.
And I didn't think Kenny had stalled it on his own, because remember last year at Chicago, he was leading the race, came in, stalled, lost the lead. We've never heard Kenny leave the pit since then on anything other than the rev limiter. So obviously something broke, which then caused the demise, which he managed to nurse back to the pits once they got it restarted. But unfortunate for Kenny Brack.
Jimmy Vasser languished in 8th place. That's where he started. And then the Patrick Racing Team, with a great pit stop, kicked him up into 3rd place. And so often you hear us say that it is the pit stop and the crew that can make the difference, especially on a course like this. They can gain distance and time for you that you can't do on the track by yourself. They certainly helped Jimmy out.
The engines, the chassis are all so good. Everyone's on Firestone tires. These drivers are all championship caliber drivers. So how do you pass without taking an enormous risk? Well, sometimes it has to happen in the pits. That brings out the full team aspect of the sport. These guys train all year long, all off-season to be as fast as they can. They can pick you up one position. Boy, that's something you may not be able to get done on the racetrack.
Christian Fittipaldi, even more troubles, Gary.
Oh, it's really unraveling. He goes by us on pit road now, headed down to join the field again. They took him out of the car, or he got out. Looked like the day was over. Got back in, fired it up, swapped the steering wheel, as we mentioned, trying to get the electronics straightened out. Now his pit speed limiter isn't working. That's why he got a second run through here in the pits.
And Christian Fittipaldi is now dead last of the cars that are actually in competition, 23rd and 2 laps behind the race. We want to look upstream here. Max Pappas working a little bit on Tracy. We're going to look for, we join Max Pappas as he goes back around the aquarium complex here. Pappas is 8th. That's Paul Tracy just ahead.
27 shifts per lap here. And the big thing that differentiates this from any other sport, when it's lined with concrete like this street course is, you cannot have a moment's lapse in concentration. It's not like golf, standing over the ball where you're focused, you hit the shot, and then you can take a break. You have to be absolutely precise every moment, otherwise the consequence is concrete meeting race car.
We're back to 11th place. Oriol Servia. And Servia has got himself a fight. Adrian Fernandez and Nicholas Manassian both lined up behind him. This is the closest racing interval on the track right now. Just ahead of Servia is Michel Jourdain Jr., about 3 seconds further forward. And here is Christian Fittipaldi's crew once again ready. I guess he's going to come back in again. Mauricio Guzman. Nice on-board shots from Mo. Guzman is currently chasing Brian Herta for 14th place. There's the top of the field at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Our first Toyota Spotlight takes a look at Newman Haas Racing 1 year ago on the streets of Long Beach. It was not a good day for either Michael Andretti or his teammate. Michael had a fire, had to pull off the course. It wasn't long until Christian Fittipaldi, during a pit stop, had to jump for cover because of a fire on his car. Well, neither Michael or Christian are teammates anymore, but neither's having a good day today in the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Michael retired very early on, and Christian Fittipaldi has been fighting with an electrical problem, and he has the car, in fact, back in the pits again. His teammate, there he is, the black number 6. That's Cristiano D'Amata. He's in 2nd place. Behind this man, Elio Castroneves. We're working lap number 40. 82 laps for the scheduled distance. The big story right now is Jimmy Vasser, and there he is in 3rd place. His pit crew gave him an awesome stop, put him in 3rd, and Jimmy, a former winner here, is taking every opportunity to improve on it.
He won back here in 1996. Remember last week, qualified 2nd and finished 3rd. Jimmy knows his way around this place. And as we've said earlier, he's fired up with this new ride with Pat Patrick Racing. And he's been doing a great job all weekend long.
Yeah, he's kind of a renewed race driver this year.
You know, we've spent a lot of time with Jimmy. You and I went out to dinner with him, and he said, look, obviously my view of myself must be different than anyone else. So he came to Pat Patrick Racing saying, first thing we're going to do is trying to figure out how to qualify these cars better than they did last year, and then rely on Pat Patrick and Jim McGee to give us great race strategy and go about winning races in the championship, and it looks like that's exactly what they're doing.
Jan Bikas, he started 8th. He's now 3rd.
Yeah, I spoke to the crew. They obviously were excited about their pit stop, but they say there has been very little conversation on the radio, that he loves his car. Also, Jimmy has said that he is not as comfortable on the road course tires, but he loves the Firestone street tires. It just suits his driving style, and he's been telling the crew all week, I know a lot of drivers do this, but he has been confident. He says, I am going to win this race this weekend. Jimmy doesn't normally talk like that. He comes here with a lot of confidence.
You know what he just made? He was the fastest on the last lap. We gave you the last lap speeds, and he was up there over 100 miles an hour. Compared with the two front runners sitting down at 99, Jimmy was 100.011. The leader was 99.6, Helio Castroneves.
And especially at Long Beach, as we've said, this is a physical game. The track is very, very rough. There's a lot of lateral G-forces, a lot of longitudinal G-forces under braking. But that physical presence has to support the mental game. And this is where it gets tough. You get past the halfway point, it's very hot. It can be 130-plus degrees in the cockpit, and the driver can't make any mistakes. And right now, Castroneves is looking at what's happening behind him. Cristiano D'Amata, he's just trying to gain ground on Helio, looking for any mistake. Jimmy, he's back just a little further, hoping that something happens in front of him that he can take an opportunity of. But these guys know that if they can't get it done on the racetrack, they're going to have to rely on their pit crews and then just take off the gloves and go for it in the closing stages of this race.
And now just past the halfway point in the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, Helio Castroneves has led most of the way, all of the way, in fact. Green race average at 97 miles an hour. And those are the cars out. Surprising to see Kenny Brex and Michael Andretti's name there, and Michael was first out. On the front stretch now, here's Helio Castroneves. Scott Pruitt, Patrick Racing Team has a car in 3rd, and then Moreno's back in 18th. Do you think that's deliberate?
I think that's just the way it's played out. Moreno's been having some tough time this weekend. He backed the car in yesterday, tore up the car pretty good. I think they struggled to get things back together. But I drove for this team for numerous years, and they work hard on strategy. Jim McGee is the best, and we can see it playing out again here today.
And Scott, they are a team that's very willing to gamble, aren't they?
That's Pat Patrick in one sentence. He is willing to gamble anything, anytime, anywhere, and it tends to play out more often than not when we see how these guys shake out after these pit stops.
Here comes Adrian Fernandez. This is what we were looking for. Oriol Servia's got a whole line right behind him. He has not pitted since lap 10. We're now on 42. You would think he'd probably be in sometime soon.
Well, not only out of fuel, but probably out of tires. Remember, this new Sigma team did such a great job down in Monterrey, Mexico. They've been very fast all weekend here. But you can see Brian Herta and the rest of the gang backed up behind him. And now Herta's either got to force a move or just be patient, knowing that Servia has to pit very, very soon. But Herta can't wait too long, otherwise he'll lose contact with the cars in front of him.
Herta, Guzman, Junqueira lined up behind Servia. Scott Pruitt.
You know, he's seen last 3 or 4 times by, he's gotten passed by Adrian, he's gotten passed by Manassian. He just seems to be sliding backwards slowly. I think Parker's right. It's the tires.
Certainly you would think it was tires, and we expect him in the pits just any time now, but makes for an interesting time to see how Oriol Servia performs, currently running in 13th. At the front, it is still Helio Castroneves. Cristiano D'Amata is second. Jimmy Vasser is third, and Gil de Ferran sits in 4th place right now. It's Honda and then 3 Fords. The lineup at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC station. Stanley Cup playoffs fire up this week with the conference quarterfinals. Coverage begins on ESPN on Wednesday. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Tora Takagi got himself in trouble, Parker, while we were away.
Coming down at turn 1, it looks like he got boxed out there. Did a quick spin, waited for traffic to clear, went down the escape road, and spun it back around. Here you see it again on the way in. Gets the rears locked, thinks there might be a bit of a log jam, and then he creates one.
Scott Pruitt, you're right on top of that. Did it look very close to you? It sure did to the onboard camera.
It certainly did. He was able to get through here without having any sort of damage. He spun it around, ended up going back track into the runoff area, spun the car back around again and headed on his way.
Into the hairpin now, the battle for the lead. Helio Castroneves and Cristiano Damata is right there, slower traffic ahead. Here comes Vassar, here comes the Farron.
That's Oriol Servia just ahead, but look how Cristiano Damata has closed up on Castroneves.
They're heading for you, Scott.
That's right, exactly. Got some slow cars coming out of the pits as well at the same time. Cristiano taking a look up the inside. We're getting a lot of wheel-to-wheel combat going on down here. Top 4, 5, 6, 7 cars.
Helio Castroneves continues to hold off Damata. He should be okay until they get back to the Seaside Straight. Tagliani, Carpentier, they've both been in the pits now.
And at this point, Cristiano has gotten close enough to Castroneves. He's not being patient any longer. He senses a weakness, and when you're this close, you try to push whatever advantage you might have to take advantage of the situation. Castroneves regains whatever problem he may have had and starts to get a bit of a gap again. This opportunity might disappear for Cristiano Damata.
Here's one chance for Damata. He's not going to do it here. The rest of the field comes on through. Look at this, the battle between Paul Tracy and Dario Franchitti. One of our reports says they may have touched the last time through, and it looks like there may be a little dark spot on Paul Tracy's nose. We'll keep an eye on that, too.
And there is, Paul, you're right.
Pal, good job. If you need the fuel, use it. If you need it, use it.
Paul Tracy's going to take a run on his streammate. And Franchitti locks him up hard, but Tracy gets past in the first turn. That was pretty, Scott.
That was a great move. I saw that coming the lap before. Looked like he made the move, had just maybe a slight bit of contact. Was able to make a nice, clean move straight at the inside. A little aggressive, but that's Paul.
And that puts Tracy to 6. Let's not forget, he won last year, coming from way back at 17th. At the front, the battle continues. Castroneves, Damata. Vassar's getting into it now. Slower traffic just ahead. Still Servia.
Well, for the fans that are new to our sport, that radio communication you heard when they said use the button, use the fuel if you need. The drivers can preset a particular power setting, and if they get a good run coming down that long pit straightaway, they can hit the overtake button. It goes to full rich, full advance, full fuel, full power, and it gives them that much extra horsepower, sometimes 40, 50, even 100 extra horsepower versus the setting they have in the car to try to capitalize on the situation and take advantage and make the pass happen.
Working on the 50th lap now. You would think they could get another 14, 15 laps. The leaders out of the current fuel load. Maybe we'll go as late as lap 66 or all the way to 68 for their pit stop, which will be the final stop in the race.
And therein lies the problem, Paul. If you hit that passing overtake button too many times, every time you push it here at Long Beach, it uses about a half a gallon of fuel, which is a huge amount. So you've got to be very, very careful when you use that button.
Jan Beekes, so far today, it's looked clean and green for Helio Castroneves.
Yes, just spoke with Tim Cindric, the president of Penske Racing, said, how's the car looking? He says, we're fine. He says, but we are really working hard to keep this lead. I said, are you saving fuel or are you running hard? He said, no, we're only doing just barely enough to stay in front. In other words, tell your guy to stay in front, not to lose the spot, but also save a little fuel for our next stop.
And that's a very hard thing for a driver to do, because you're looking in your mirrors if you're Helio Castroneves. All you see is that black Newman Haas car, and you're driving absolutely as hard as you can with as little horsepower as possible, and that is a tough order to accomplish.
You know, doing a nice job and sitting just ahead of the leader. That's Oriol Servia. Look at Vassar close up there. Oriol Servia is the last guy on the lead lap. He currently runs 20th. He does not want Castroneves around him.
And look how Vassar is closed up behind Cristiano Damata. Remember last year it was Jimmy Vassar all over the back of Helio Castroneves trying the outside line going down into turn 1. Now Vassar sensing an opportunity to try to make a move on Cristiano D'Amata.
Update on Jimmy Vassar, Jan Beekes.
Yes, and I may have just found out why Jimmy Vassar was so quick and picked up time on the pit stop. They short-filled him. In other words, they didn't fill the car up with fuel all the way. The car is now lighter. He can run quicker, but he may have to stop sooner than the guys in front.
Oh, there's that Devil Patrick Racing team again. We told you they'd do it. Other guys may have tried the same thing. So what did they do? You know, maybe they got to 30 laps from the finish and might stop any time now. Who knows? Jimmy Vassar right on the tail of Cristiano D'Amata. Honda, now Toyota at Long Beach. We'll be back. Back with our Toyota Spotlight from yesterday as the green flag dropped. 17 drivers took off for the 25th running of the Toyota Pro Celebrity Race. The field included Olympic medalist Dara Torres, who held her lead throughout much of the race. Passes, spins, everything entertained the crowd, but in the end it was Scott Pruitt who pushed his way past up the line to take the win. And today they honored the race in general with all of the money that has gone to charity. The 25th running of the Toyota Pro Celebrity. Ricky Schroeder, William Shatner, all of them were there, guys who have raced in that great event. At the front of the field in the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, everybody's still chasing Oriol Servia. Jimmy Vassar has not been able to get around Cristiano D'Amata, though he's been right there. Michel Jourdain Jr. did hit the pits while we were away, in and out. We expect Jimmy Vassar to stop shortly.
And as John reported, they short-fueled this car, finally getting by Oriol Servia here. For every 10 gallons of fuel that you don't put in the car, it's about 60 pounds of weight. It's a little over a tenth of a second lap advantage per lap. So Jimmy has to take advantage of that now in order to take full advantage of that short fueling strategy.
Patrick Carpentier in trouble, slows down on the circuit. Jimmy Vassar wasn't able to get around Servia. And here is Scott Dixon. He's into the barrier. This may work absolutely to the advantage of Jimmy Vassar. They are going full course yellow. I'm pretty... Oh, Max Pappas. Little adjustment to his car, too.
Yeah, their wind tunnel program's not working out the way they wanted to, I don't think, at this point, Paul. That's too bad. Max was...
10-4, copy, change the rear wing. Copy, change the rear wing. Pit this lap, clear pit behind you, right here on your board. Right here on your board.
Jan Beekes.
We are watching for Castro Neves. And of course, like we said, this will be great for Jimmy Vassar because it was perfectly on his sequence. But in the meantime, we are going to watch. It'll be a quick one because they don't need all the fuel, but Jimmy Vassar will. Gary?
Cristiano D'Amata is in now. He said that we told the fuel won't take long. He's ready. The revs are already coming up. This is a great stop. Here comes Castro Neves. Oh, my. It was a 9-second stop, and he was about 8 feet short of getting the nose out there on Castro Neves.
Paul Tracy trying to push Jimmy Vassar a little faster out of the pits. Here is the way they come back to the track with Helio Castroneves maintaining the lead. And then Cristiano D'Amata comes out right behind him. Jimmy Vassar has fallen back a bit. And the two Team Green cars are right there, too. So with the second full course caution, everybody stops. They should be fueled pretty close to the end of this run. We'll be back.
This Wide World of Sports update brought to you by Mobil 1. Nothing outperforms Mobil 1.
And this Mobil update comes to you while we're under a full course caution here. We want to show you after 3 races now how NHRA point leaders are doing and the wins that they have as the action continues with Mike Dunn leading in the top fuel. Force still there in funny car. Warren Johnson looking strong in pro stock. And don't forget, coverage of the NHRA will come final round. We're looking at it from the SummitRacing.com Nationals on ESPN 8/5 Pacific later today. Well, in on the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. There have been a couple of interesting occurrences. We're under a full course caution. This is Patrick Carpentier. We just suddenly saw him rolling on the ground. We're not really sure why, but this happened to him. It involved some contact.
Well, that's why we didn't see that earlier. He got a lot of air when he climbed up onto the rear tires of Max Pappas. I think he may have hurt his wrist or forearm. It looks like he was holding it. And if he had his thumbs wrapped around that steering wheel, the violence of that descension, 4 feet, good slam back onto the ground could have been enough to damage his arm.
Well, and remember that he broke his wrist a year ago, and you would think that it would be strong enough by now. It might even be the other. Normally, a break when it heals is stronger than the bone around it, but we'll keep track of Patrick Carpentier and make sure he's okay. All right, with what should be now the final stop, there should be no question. They all go to the finish now with the load of fuel they had. Here is how they came in and out. Jimmy Vasser, well, he lost just a little bit, while DeFerrin made it up, and Tony Kanaan dropped down 2 positions. Scott Dixon had a little bit of a problem. We want to show you what happened to him.
The pace car wave flag. There's a replay of what small car yellow flag.
Thank goodness for the tires, huh?
You have to be so careful in these cars, Paul, because when you do make contact with the front wheels, you can see that big slap to the left front. It violently tears the steering wheel out of your hand. It's easy to break wrists, forearms, and any finger bones if you have your thumbs hooked into the steering wheel.
It's such a simple system, and yet the tire barriers do so much to alleviate damage and even injury in these cars, especially in a circuit like this where you're lined with concrete all the way around. We expect the green to come out. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Caution at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. These live aerial shots of the action on the track are being provided by Monster.com's Blimp Skeeter. Monster.com operates 2 blimps here in the United States. Monster.com for work, life, and possibilities. Dana Delaney prosecutes sex crimes. Billy Burke is hired to protect her. They have to find a killer before the killer finds them. Final Jeopardy tomorrow, 8, 7 Central on ABC. Paul Page, Parker Johnstone, Scott Pruitt. We're watching from the course itself, and down in the pits it's Gary Gerald and Jan Pikus as we're starting the 60th lap now of 82 scheduled. All the cars are fueled. They're going to go all the way to the finish in what we hope is a sprint. It's been a fairly smooth day. The leader is Helio Castroneves, then Cristiano D'Amata, Gil DeFerrin. But this lineup has a lot of potential as they come around to the green flag. Bruno Junqueira, I talked to him this morning, and I said, you know, don't forget you are the Formula 3000 champion. You can do this. And he smiled and seemed to appreciate it. I think he's been putting himself under a lot of pressure. Oh, a problem. Under the caution, Mauricio Guzman into the wall. So that'll prevent the green.
What'd he do? Just drove up your ass, did he? Yeah, he stopped behind.
Well, there you have it. Apparently there was some contact at the rear of the car.
So that would be Roberto Moreno, perhaps. He was the one that was lined up in 12th behind 11th place Mauricio Guzman.
And there are a lot of problems on these restarts because the drivers are accelerating and decelerating, warming up the brakes, trying to spin the rear tires to get heat in them. And if the driver behind you isn't paying attention, if you suddenly jump on the brakes to heat them up as the guy behind you is trying to do a top fuel burnout heating his rear tires, there's not enough time to react if you're not paying attention. And I've seen these incidents a lot of times in the past.
They're going to keep the full course caution out. Here's what happened to Big Mo.
And you can hear it. Exactly that. Mauricio warming up the tires. Catching up to the back now on the brakes. Boom! Gets nailed from behind.
Somebody's going to have a pretty serious nose job out there. We're going to have to figure out who that is. Look on the side of the car, by the way. They're carrying some sponsorship this weekend for the movie Driven, which, of course, was filmed at this series last year and opens on April 27th. We'll be back, hopefully, this time with a green.
The Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach on ABC Sports, brought to you by Toyota. More choices, better selection. Experience Toyota today. And FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series.
We're under a full course caution. It started with Alex Tagliani and Max Pappas, and then it was continued by a rear-end collision involving Mauricio Guzman. His car is on the hook. Once again, we want to show you the onboard camera and show you what happened to him.
Warming up the tires, gets on the brakes. You mentioned the movie Driven. Well, guess what? Mauricio is just driven into the wall by Roberto Moreno.
Yeah, we suspected it was Roberto Moreno, and we have a little confirmation of that now. There's Mo. Roberto's coming. Look at the nose of Roberto's car. And Mo said, what were you doing? What were you thinking? And Roberto seemed to wave. I'm really sorry about that. Look at the front of Moreno's car. Scott Pruitt, the car just got totally under it.
He slid quite a ways up underneath there. No damage to Moreno's car, but as Parker was saying, I had a good look. I mean, it happened almost right in front of me across the track. They were warming up the tires. A lot of these guys really anxious getting down to the end, want to make every move count. And unfortunately, this move before the green took Mauricio out of the race.
Well, now as the field works down Shoreline, they say one more lap to go. Scott Pruitt, this restart just may be awesome.
If there's not a lot of action coming in turn one, I'll be highly disappointed. These guys, especially this top group, this is one of the best races that I've seen at Long Beach in a long time. A lot of good talent, a lot of great cars right at the front, and you can see a lot of action in about a lap.
Well, Scott, we're seeing some marbling, though, as they come down Shoreline. Is that going to be a factor in turn one?
Not in turn one. Everything looks good, clean, and clear. I have a real good shot right down into the turn, and I don't see any debris at all. You know, typically we see a lot of rubber buildup, a lot of issue down here, but right now it looks great.
Mentioned the Target Chip Ganassi cars. Bruno Junqueira is 8th. His teammate Manassi in his 9th, right behind him. Fastest laps of the day, not just lap, but the fastest laps of the day, 1st through 4th, have all been Junqueira. Look at that.
And as we get ready for this restart, if you're Helio Castroneves, all you're trying to do is get a big enough jump on Cristiano D'Amato so you're not attacked going down into turn one. You're letting the pace car get away so that you can try to hoodwink him. Get on the brakes, the throttle, get Cristiano's timing off, and get away. Well, for everyone else, they don't want Castroneves to get away, and you're also trying to jump the guy behind you.
Gary Gerald, no question, Junqueira is very fast.
Well, Chip Ganassi's had great success at this layout over the years with his drivers, Zanardi, Vassar, Montoya, you name it. He's got Junqueira pumped up, and he's repeatedly been telling them, catch up with those guys in front of you. Be heads up for this start now. At one point, he said, do you understand me? He wants to make sure the message is delivered. He's got a chance here if those guys in front of him make the slightest mistake.
The 12 car is Manassi, and we go back to the front of the field. Green flag should come out. Helio Castroneves brings it off the corner.
Great jump by Castroneves and by Cristiano D'Amato.
But here is where the fight is as Gil DeFerrin pulls away now, and Paul Tracy's going to work on Jimmy Vasser. Tracy tries to get inside Vasser. Scott Pruitt.
Tracy is up inside of Vassar, side by side. We talked it's going to be exciting. He does pull it off. He does make the move, heads in front of Vassar.
Paul Tracy into 4th place now behind Gil DeFerrin. Castroneves and D'Amato were able to pull away off of the corner, taking advantage of the start. Green flag came out. The battle was between Tracy and Jimmy Vasser. Tracy got inside Vasser. Now Dario Franchitti is going to work on Vasser.
And Vasser had a huge bit of bad luck there. He got boxed in behind Adrian Fernandez a lap down coming through that hairpin. Tracy held back a little bit, was able to get a good run on Jimmy. Sometimes it works for you, sometimes the luck goes against you. And that time it just wasn't Jimmy's turn, but now look at Castroneves and D'Amato. No concern about fuel. It is just a sprint race to the end.
Cristiano D'Amato, the black Kmart car, 2nd place. Helio Castroneves in the lead. We're just going to watch him for you.
But they do have to exercise a little patience. They can burn the tires up 10, maybe 15 laps if they use the throttle too hard coming off these hairpins. So they do have to be careful. Otherwise, they won't make it to the end.
Cristiano made a good amount of time up under braking. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple laps down into turn one.
pressure, slid the back end. D'Amata is right there. That's a key passing zone. He didn't get it done there. Here we come to the hairpin.
That's what I was talking about. Castroneves has got to be careful with those rear tires. If you're Cristiano D'Amata and you see Castroneves' car step out like that, you get a little smile on your face because you're going, yeah, go ahead, use those tires. But then in a couple laps, you'll be all mine.
Slide like that can be costly. Now they head for turn one and Scott Pruitt.
Yeah, we got a blocking warning. Blocking warning. Do not block.
Tim Cedric talking to Helio Castroneves saying, hey, you got to be careful. The kart rule book says you can make one move, but it can't be in reaction to the car behind you. So Castroneves can choose whether to go down the inside or the outside of the racing line, but once he does that, he's committed. What he can't do is move in reaction to seeing a black car move one direction and then stepping in front of him.
Chris Neifel has warned all the drivers. Chris Neifel, a former competitor in the series, is the chief steward now. He said, don't drive with your mirrors. You do that, I'm going to penalize you.
Castroneves has to settle down a little bit and just concentrate on driving the most perfect racing line he can, making sure he goes deep under the brakes, but not so deep that he locks the wheel, and trying to be careful, especially coming out of this hairpin, trying to feed on that 900 horsepower without spinning the rear tires, but then not being so conservative that D'Amata gets a jump and is able to draft up behind him
No blocking.
and make a move down here into turn one.
Scott Pruitt.
Same thing. Castroneves just got to settle down. Cristiano taking a look. Can't quite get the job done. They go through single file, and they're away.
Yeah, but Gil DeFerrin is closing in, too. He's just under 2 seconds back. There comes DeFerrin. He's got Tracy Vassar and Franchitti all lined up behind him.
And you've got a Honda Renard Penske followed by a Lola Toyota, then another Honda Renard Penske, and then it's Renard Honda, and then Jimmy Vassar in a Renard Toyota. So good mix of manufacturers. Shows you how close everyone is in this series. It's what makes passing so difficult because everyone is so good.
16 cars on the lead lap. We were wondering about Patrick Carpentier and what happened to him. Way up in the air, slammed down. Jan Beekes, can you give us an update?
Well, I'll ask Dr. Steve Olby. What is the update on Patrick Carpentier?
Well, it's good to report, Jan, that Patrick's wide awake. He has no other injuries, but he does have a fracture of his left wrist.
Now, is that a wrist that he had broken previously?
Yes, it is, and our orthopedic surgeon will look at him shortly. We'll probably take care of him here this evening.
What kind of recovery time?
I can't say that yet.
Thank you.
Well, and that was the key question. How long will it take for Patrick Carpentier? Some changes in the engineering side of the team that I think were very meaningful for Carpentier this year. There's Ashmore coming in there who really expected a lot of them. It's Honda, Toyota Honda at Long Beach. Just 1 year ago at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, Paul Tracy started 17th and scored his second victory here at Long Beach. He also won in '93, his first career victory. Right now, he sits fourth. He's worked his way 8 places forward from the start. You watched him most of the way. Helio Castroneves, D'Amata, DeFerrin, and Paul Tracy. And as you can see, Tracy's beginning to work DeFerrin, but at the same time, Jimmy Vassar is right there. The leaders have pulled away. Helio Castroneves and Cristiano D'Amata. They got most of that distance on the restart.
And Paul Tracy has been using up every inch of real estate. We've been watching him slide the car right to the wall so the shadows disappear, and you kind of wince because you know he's going to make contact, but he hasn't. He's driving his car, as always, extremely hard. As you said, he's had great runs here in the past, and look at him charge now as he makes up the distance to DeFerrin.
You saw the numbers, and there you see him again. Castroneves up above 102 miles an hour, as was Cristiano D'Amata for quick laps last time around, quickest laps of the race. There's the interval up to first and second from third place Gil DeFerrin. You know the players. Let's just watch it. DeFerrin, currently third. He's got to worry about that 26 car right behind him, Paul Tracy. And the front of the field does remain tight. First 9 positions are only covered by 9 seconds, and that is very tight on a street circuit.
And Gilles DeFerrin has been one of the most consistently quick drivers at Long Beach over the years, but he's always had something go wrong in the closing moments of the race that has kept him from dominating here on the street. And as we watch this, though, we talk about domination, it's also Honda. They've had victories here the last 5 years. But remember, it was a year ago that Toyota announced that they were live and well on street and road course circuits with great runs with Jimmy Vasser and Juan Montoya. And here's Cristiano Damata in that Lola Toyota for Newman Haas Racing, still trying to keep the pressure on Helio Castroneves in his Honda Renard Penske car.
And as we watch the Toyota-powered car, Cristiano Damata, Toyota made an interesting announcement earlier this week that had everybody talking. We had fairly extensive coverage on it in our Kart Today show, which gets everybody revved up for the race itself before the start of every kart event. And in the announcement, they were saying that they want to go to normally aspirated engines, and they were going to supply their engines not only kart but to the IRL as well. So they're branching out.
Well, and certainly we thought we'd have an announcement about future engine rules by this time in the season from Kart. And I think Toyota's just trying to force their hand, saying, hey, look, we're looking for 3.5-liter normally aspirated engines, something maybe we can run at the Indy 500, certainly. And there's another faction here, specifically Honda, that wants to go to smaller displacement, still turbocharged engine, high-tech versus low-tech. We'll see what the decision will be in the future.
Yeah, that's going to be a very interesting ongoing conversation with the manufacturers. Helio Castroneves, Damata, DeFerrin, Honda, Toyota, Honda. We'll be back. The closing laps of the race after this. For our Toyota Spotlight, the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach is a happening from the F-18 Hornets start. It's been a very, very interesting day. Some guys in trouble. We worry about the broken left wrist of Patrick Carpentier and what it will do to him. Everybody else has walked away without injury to person, though Guzman may be an injury to ego. This is Tora Takagi. He got into the barrier down in turn 1, and with 75 laps complete of the 82 scheduled, that brings out the full course caution again. Scott Pruitt, you're right there. What happened?
He's right down there in front of me. As you can see, he slid into the tire barrier pretty hard. He's fairly deep in. The safety green guys, simple green guys are out here trying to get him. The safety guys are out here trying to get him dug out of the tires. It's going to take a couple laps.
Jan Beekes.
I'm with Roger Penske. Well, it's great news for Gilles DeFerrin that you get a full course caution, but not so good for Castroneves.
I didn't hear your question.
This full course caution works for one of your drivers, but maybe not for the other?
Well, I think it's probably good for both of them. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a shootout, obviously, with Tracy behind Gilles, and Damata's running a smart race, so we'll just have to see.
Now, with Gilles having to save some fuel, does this help you to some degree?
This helps us a lot because we had a little issue on our, when we had our last fueling, we didn't get all the fuel in we thought, so we're in good shape.
Thank you. Thank you, Roger. Gary?
Well, let's check in with Carl Haas, who's nervously watching this. Does this yellow help Cristiano's chances of overtaking Castroneves?
Well, they're racing very close together. It's hard to pass. You never know. He's sure trying.
How nervous do you get in this situation here as you try to make it 2 in a row?
Well, I can't get too nervous, but hoping it turns out all right.
He's been through this so many times in the past. Got fingers crossed here as he watches under yellow. Paul?
Well, in the last 10 years, the running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, 5 times, the guy who led the most laps did not win the race. Most recently last year with DeFerrin, Kanaan in 99 and DeFerrin in 98. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Back still under full course caution. It was the tennis shot heard round the world. Ron Silver is Bobby Riggs. Holly Hunter is Billie Jean King. When Billy beat Bobby. Monday, April 16th, 9, 8 Central on ABC. Well, here we go. We're sitting under a full course caution. We've already told you that it hasn't paid in recent years to lead laps here. And now the game goes to the possibility of Cristiano Damata as they bring the green flag out. Can he jump the leader of the race, Helio Castroneves? The entire run here comes down to these final moments.
Castroneves is doing exactly what he needs to. He's allowing the pace car to get well away from him. And now all he has to do is get Cristiano Damata out of his tailpipes, and that's what he's doing. He's jumping the start. Here he goes.
Coming up next, World News Tonight Sunday. Your local news. We're ready to go back to green for the hairpin. Here's the critical moment. Cristiano tries to come off a little tighter on the corner. They both accelerate now. The green flag flies.
I don't know if Cristiano's got enough. He's going to look down the inside just because, or the outside.
They go to Scott Pruitt.
Taking a look up the outside, towards the fakes back to the inside. Can't quite get the job done, but it was exciting.
Paul Tracy's working on Jill DeFerrin for third place at the same time. And that's Vassar and Franchitti sitting back behind DeFerrin and Tracy.
Damata looking very strong at this point. It's more difficult to follow unless you've got a car that you know is very strong. Cristiano Damata knows that, and all he has to do is keep Castroneves looking in his mirrors, try to distract him, look for that one mistake, try to get him frazzled, and try to take advantage of it. But right now, Castroneves driving perfectly, hasn't made a mistake since that restart. There are no issues.
Little slide for Castroneves as he comes from the changing surface going into the hairpin.
But there are no issues as far as fuel, as far as tires. You can see Castroneves looking in that right mirror, seeing where Cristiano Damata is. He's picked up a bit of an interval since that opening lap.
4/10 as they cross the line was the interval. DeFerrin closes.
Castroneves not quite as strong as Damata going down that straightaway and under braking. You can see how Damata makes that up, closes it up in this tight section. But Damata will not be able to get by here. He's got to really concentrate on coming onto the back straightaway or that hairpin coming down the long pit straight.
Don't forget World News Tonight Sunday. Be following our coverage here for your local news. Here's another passing zone. Damata's not where he can do it here.
What Cristiano has to do is do everything perfectly here so he can come up right behind Castroneves on the exit of the hairpin. But Castroneves through the carousel very cleanly, very reserved coming out of the hairpin, doing exactly what he needs to do. You can see Vassar kicking the back of the car out a little bit. Castroneves driving extremely well. You can see the intervals increase just a little bit once again.
Now we don't know who the winner is yet, but regardless, we're a little over time, and we're not going to be able to talk with the winner. We're going to try to talk with him by two-way radio. But who it's going to be, that's yet to be determined. ABC Sports is online at ESPN.com, keyword ABC Sports.
We've seen some great drives today. We've seen Tracy come up from 12th to 4th, still looking for a way past DeFerrin. Nicholas Manassin from 14th to 8th. Roberto Moreno 22nd to 11th. And Bruno Junqueira in his second race for Target Chip Ganassi Racing from 28th to 9th. But attention's now at the front. I just don't think Cristiano Damata's got anything left here for Castroneves. Otherwise, we'd see it. The only thing Damata can try to hope for is a mistake on Castroneves' part. We've only seen small miscues on the starts and restarts from Castroneves during the course of last year and earlier, but right now he's driving flawlessly.
Working the final lap now. Castroneves, then Damata. Scott, they come to you.
Helio's looking real good, real clean. Damata still keeps that behind him. All the guys go through here clean. No action.
For Helio, it's a no-mistake lap. For Damata, he's only going to have one more real chance to take a run. It doesn't look like he has what's needed, but who knows if Damata can reach down. He's closing up on his tail.
And if you're in Castroneves' position leading this race, you just say, it's got to be perfect, it's got to be perfect. D'Amata pushing as hard as he can, just has to be close enough so that if Castroneves does make a mistake, he can take advantage of it. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
There would have been his chance. Now it would have to be a mistake or a failure by Helio Castroneves. They head for the hairpin, the 27th running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Helio Castroneves comes off the corner. Check